Mm-hmm.
The live video should start soon. Okay, are
Hello,
we
Nila.
live? Okay, we're
Yes,
live.
we are.
Okay. Okay, well, hello everybody. It's Milan here, and you are with the Less is More live. Okay, so I want to introduce Paula. Paula, give them a big hi as well.
Hello, from South Africa, from Lessismore Africa. I hope everybody is already tuning in for the live stream special tonight.
Yeah, so let's find out who's with us today then. Where are our people? Where are the audience? Where are you people? Give us a shout out, give us a high five, let us know you're with us. Okay. So I'm going to start with something that's really been on my mind for the last week, Paula. And obviously, like, I think I want you to have a bit of an input on this too. But something's been bothering me for the last week, and I think everybody is in the dance arena is aware of some very uncomfortable conversations around sexual assault. I don't know how else to put that. But it's been really bothering me. It's been really playing on my mind. And what's happened is there's been lots of information about that, right? There's been a lot of conversations happening in Strength in Numbers. If any of you aren't aware of that group, it's a group for women. It's a safe place for everyone to talk. It's kind of reached pretty much globally. So you guys can find it, and there's a set of questions if you want to join. But I just wanted to say that I am aware, ladies, I am listening, I am supporting you, and there will be conversations around that at some point in our Less is More talks. At the moment, we're just organising all of that. But it meant that at this point, we had to continue with what our schedule was. And Pala, what's your thoughts? I mean, how's your week been first? Like the whole thing going on.
I have been in the dance community for a while, and I have been abroad, and I was very surprised because I was probably the less exposed to those issues. I
Hmm.
have been also lucky somehow that I didn't so far have to deal with those such an delicate issues. Um, I think also it has been somehow like an individual decision somehow about putting some boundaries from my side sometimes, and also the orientation of the way I used to teach and who I used to teach, and the and the and the way that I go sometimes beyond that only teaching dancing. Um, but it was a bit disappointing. Sometimes, like I expressed, um, it's a bit sad that sometimes you put somehow faith and trust and even admiration on some people, and for some reason, it's you find very um, disappointing things. And I I think that in this moment the priority is to give support to the people that has been affected by this, and open spaces like you just mentioned, Nilam, and I think also motivate the people to speak in their communities, in the networks, in the continents everywhere, and discuss what is possible to do in order to improve the things, to make better spaces and safe for the people for in general.
Yeah, that's great, Hannah. And I'm totally hearing what you're saying. I think at some point we're going to have all of these conversations, and we're going to go live with that at some point. Like we said, the specials that we hold, they're generally on the Monday, and our regulars are every 2 weeks on a Friday. So this Friday you're going to get self care. I don't think it could have come at a better time to have self care on Friday, Paula. What do you reckon? It's going to be a good one, right?
It's going to be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, we're doing post-COVID, and someone said to me on the live stream, post-COVID, are you for real? We're still with COVID, and you're absolutely right. We are still sitting with COVID, and but there's been something really interesting that happened a couple of weeks ago, and that's the reason why we decided to do this special on part one post-COVID. And for me, the reason why I called it post-COVID is because all of a sudden, like there was this festival, there was this a Hungarian festival that took place, and some names that who are my friends, had gone to this festival. I was pretty curious. It was like, wow, you guys went to this festival, and how was it? How was it for you guys? And does that mean we're all back to normal? How is it? So I invited some guests onto our show, right, Paula? We've invited a few lovely people. Um,
Yes.
and we're going to bring them in slowly. So I want to start with the first person, the one who actually went to this festival. And people know him as Flexalicious. So let's bring on Mo Flex. Give him a big clap,
Yes.
people. He's on mute.
What's up, people?
Hey, Mo.
Hello.
Okay, wonderful. Good to have you with us, Mo. Mo, look, how's your week been first? Tell us about that. And where are you
Well,
right
this
now?
week, right now, I'm on a road trip. I've got Mr. Fatty K with me up here.
Hey,
So yeah,
Fadi.
I just killed this.
we just arrived into Manchester.
Wonderful.
We had a week off. We had a few days off, so I decided to drive up here. So there we go.
Great. Yes, you've got some good weather, right?
The weather's gorgeous, but we can't really go and do weather type places, mixing with people. So we're doing it internally between us. We're sharing our bubble. That's it.
Open the window.
Excellent. It's good to have you with us. It really is, Mo. And we want to bring on everybody before we start this narratives around what happened at the Hungarian festival, because I know you went there. You're our first-hand experience. You're the kind of light for us that we want to work out how it's been and how we've been enjoying how these festivals have been going, how we've been taking care of each other, and so on. So the next person I want to bring on is Pierre Henry. And if any of you don't know Pierre Henry, he runs Pachata classes. He's one of the the nicest people you could ever meet. So Pierre Henry.
He makes bachata remixes too.
He does what?
Well, it depends who you speak to.
Pierre, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Theatre Bug. What's that about?
Oh, that's my wife's dance school. She's been teaching kids classes from home while we've been in lockdown. So,
yeah. And how's it been for you, lockdown?
It's been all right for me because I do teach dance and stuff, but that's not my day job. My day job is a software consultant, so I've been doing that from home. So I'm still busy as ever.
Great stuff, Pierre. I mean, it's really great to have you here. I'm really excited about how this conversation is going to turn out. And whether we've got some really useful tools and advice for all of our people out there. I mean, that's what they really want to know. They want to know what's going on, what should we be doing, what steps should we be taking, what should we be careful of, if we need to be careful of anything right now. And Mo's just kind of done a flip inside the car. Did you guys see that? He just did a 360.
I got
That's awesome. My final guest on the show is going to be a woman that perhaps a lot of you know. She's pretty renowned out there. She does this amazing talks called Empowered with a M without the E. Her spelling is notorious, then that's what we can say. Empowered. Let's bring on Magna Gopal.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My spelling is notorious. You're right. How do you
Magna
spell
Gopal.
that again?
Do you know what? I think it's so creative. When I first read it, it was like empowered. Oh yeah, it clicked. Really
You know why?
smart.
You know why I kept it with the M is because the M is from my MG logo that I had before. So my logo is the MG, and then I've just taken the M and then added powered to it. That's
That
why.
is really smart. That is really smart. We love it. And I've watched you. I've seen you actually on TED Talk. Is it just the once you've been on TED Talk, or you've done a few
It is
more?
just the one on benefits of rejection.
That's awesome. And if any of you haven't seen that, it's worth going onto the TED Talks. And it's called, what is it again, Magna?
The benefits of rejection.
Perfect. Oh, that's really good, useful stuff. Well, thank you, my guest. Thanks for joining us. So I don't. It's the first time we've had guests on the show. Normally we just rabbit between ourselves. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is with our guests. Um, and this topic today is around post-COVID. What's going on out there, and what triggered this entire conversation is that there was I would say it's the first festival since lockdown, right? Hungarian festival that took place, and there was a few artists that went there, and Mo Flex was one of them on the lineup. And so I think we should start there. I think we should start with firstly, how was the Hungarian festival for you, Mo?
Uh, it was a bit surprising. It was the first kind of like line of normality to kind of reach out there. So it was a bit daunting and good at the same way at the same time. Yeah, it's a bit hard to get used to again, but it was good.
I want to backtrack because did you have to wear a mask on the flight?
Oh, I mean, all the airports, doesn't matter which airport you go through, is compulsory for the flights and all the airport as well. Is you have to wear a mask.
Mhm.
If you enter in the airports and you haven't got a mask, they issue you one there. Same thing on the flights. They've always got masks on standby just in case you haven't got one. So it's compulsory to wear it all the time. I mean, I had multiple masks with me anyway, but I saw them handing out masks to people at the entrances, so that was necessary.
All right, cool. Good. Do you know when you were there, when you were actually at the actual festival itself, were there any measures that were in place when it came to your class or when it came to social dancing?
They they did take measures. They were working on hygiene, and there wasn't obviously social distancing measures, but they worked on trying to keep everyone sanitized and stuff like that. The thing about the Hungarian Summer Salsa Festival that took place over there, and the reason that they could do it there as opposed to we could do it over here, is that the corona over there is almost down to zero. It's kind of almost non-existent. So for them, it's almost like back to real life anyway. Um,
Oh, really? Okay.
so on that basis, they're not as kind of fearful. It's a different world. They're living in a different way out there than we are to over here. So that was, yeah, it was completely different to how you see it from this side.
Okay, so do you think that this post-COVID thing is like geographical for every country and everyone's doing different things? Because in UK it's oh Magna, you look like
We are utterly screwed, and it's totally different for every country. 100%. I record a podcast with my co-host Leon, and he's always telling me about what new thing has opened in Paris and how they'll be starting back their classes and how they have socials and parties out in the street and everything. And in the US, it is just a complete bleep show. I was told I'm not allowed to swear, so I'm gonna watch. It's a plum show. It's a banana. It's a banana here. Okay, it's a bloody banana. But I think the problem is, and I had this chat as well with our guest who's going to be on our podcast on Wednesday. But it's a management issue. You know, it really depends on the country. It depends on how the government is taking care of the COVID situation, what rules they're enforcing, what they deem to be important, and how they show that through their own examples when they're in public and how they're engaging with people, which is going to determine how people react to those rules and regulations and follow them, you know? And when you have a government that's actually truly taking care of you, you trust the government. So in Paris, for example, Leon was saying like, well, when the government says stay home, everyone stays home, they stay home. And the government says, okay, now this is open. You're like, okay, that if the government says it's safe to do this, I'm going to go and do this because I trust that the government has taken care of everything. Whereas over here, I don't know what kind of central government we have. We have no response, you know, like I'm fortunate. I would say like for once, well, not for once, I shouldn't say that. I'm fortunate to be in like the New York, New Jersey, like this tri-state area because we've taken care of it pretty well. It's not completely under wraps, but it's being taken care of better over here than it is in Florida or in Georgia or even California or any of these other states. You know, and that's the problem. So like we can't even travel to Europe. So if you have another event, like that used to be where a lot of my work was, and now not only was work canceled, but now it's a matter of, well, even if they do an event, they're not going to bring someone from the US, or they're not even going to let someone in from the US. And then two, even within the US, I don't even know if I would want other people from all these other states to like go coming through New York if there was an event here, you know?
It's because it's like every state is like its own country in its own right, isn't it?
But it's
Because
Yeah.
they've got their own rules and are dealing it with in very different ways.
But it's not only every state is its own country. It's like every county is its own country having a battle with the ruler or like the other country that's owning it. Like you have a federal response, you have state response, you have city responses, you have mayors, and everyone's fighting against each other depending on where their beliefs are. You know, like it's not fact based, it's not science based. The response, that's the problem. So sorry, I'm really upset.
No, I can imagine.
Understandably.
Our team member Marta, she's from the USA, and she said the same thing, that you guys are F up big time over there in the USA. But you know, at some point, I think about 3 months ago, PM and Mo, you know that in the UK it was the same for us, isn't it? We just couldn't step out of the house. It was total lockdown. The streets were completely empty. The idea of even sort of entertaining to go to the local shop was like shun upon me. Everyone was stacking up. Everyone was stacking up. And the first thing we were stacking up on was
Spoiler
toilet roll.
I never understood why it was
Me
such a
neither.
toilet roll. I never found out. But I mean, just to go on quickly about just to kind of go on from what Magnus said. The thing is though, with the dance community, it's about common sense as well. Like at the end of the day, there's a lot of countries, and as bad as the US, the UK, I don't trust the government and the rules and stuff. The way that they've set things out, I think it should have been much more strict and everything else. It is about common sense. Now, if I had been invited to a festival somewhere else in Europe, say for example France, nothing against France, nothing against Paris. I think they've managed it a little bit better than we did, but still, for me personally, I've got my mum at home with me. I've got my kids to worry about, whatever. It's not safe enough at the levels of my own personal common sense levels to go to some of these other places in Europe. So even if they were okay with it, I'm still not okay with it. Whereas when they invited me to Hungary, the research that I did with it, it's like, first of all, they're safe. So there's no corona over there. And I had to jump through hoops to get there, to show, because I had to do a test, I had to prove my test, get there, do more stuff. So I felt like I wasn't bringing it in and I wasn't taking it home. So on that basis, I made the decision that yes, it's okay for me to go ahead and do this event. Now, a lot of people ask me, oh, why have you not posted a lot of stuff about it? And so, it's about common sense. Is I did my own research to kind of go there and how I went there. So for people to go, oh, okay, Mo's dancing, let's all kind of do more festivals, do more stuff. I don't believe that's the case, because I don't think people would have been as stringent as I would have been in the same circumstances. So whatever you did is good for you, but I'm not encouraging people to say it's okay for the whole social dancing. I think it's common sense, case by case, event by event. And on this basis, the fact that I was tested as I was entering into the country, I had to have tests so many days old. I got there a place where it's healthier. I felt safe. I felt safe at the airport. I felt safe at the event. I felt safe in the country, and I felt like I wasn't endangering other people bringing it in. So on that basis, I thought it was okay. In other circumstances, if I was invited somewhere else, I'd have to consider that case by case situation. Just to go, is the dance scene okay to go back? I can't answer that as an overall, but there are some countries for them it's okay. And as a person coming in as an artist or whatever, I think you should jump through the hoops to kind of obviously not endanger somebody else and put them at risk, as well as, bringing it from home. The UK is not a safe place in comparison to some of these other European countries at the moment.
No, I have a question. In Hungary, is anybody allowed to go into Hungary then, or have they restricted some countries that can't come into Hungary?
They've restricted quite a few countries that can't come in. Yeah, I mean, they had to. There was like forms and stuff, like work forms and certificates that we had to bring in, and for them to bring me in through a different route. So for them to allow me to do checks and stuff, for me to kind of like be there. So it would have been as easy as a regular dancer from the UK, kind of going. And there's a lot of other countries that had open borders, except for some, because in those particular states they had a higher case, so they kind of like put a roadblock straight away to restrict people from coming into those from those areas.
So everybody who attended the Congress, everyone was tested. Everybody who went there.
Everyone from outside,
Everyone from outside. So anybody in Hungary, they weren't
everyone
tested. You could just rock
uh,
up at the festival.
from Hungary, and the open borders with them.
Right. Okay. I was just
Did
thinking,
the festival do any of their own testing, or was it they were relying on the border checks?
Testing wise, they didn't. No, they didn't. They relied more on the border checks.
Okay.
I think if a festival itself had the access to be able to do testing,
something like,
then we should be in a better position in the US. Like the
Well,
whole thing here is like they,
I,
oh, we don't have access for testing here,
I
that.
know some festivals are working on that. For example, I've been talking to, and this is not concrete, so please don't take my word for it just yet. But I know that, for example, Franco from Berlin, he was planning to do it. One of the options of trying to run the event with full-on testing. There are some things that are available at a cost, of course. So some organizers are looking into that, and I think that's a huge deal. So obviously, if you know that everyone who's got a wristband at this place is also tested, then it's all good.
But you can't, but even with that, there, what? Oh, sorry. Is that Fadi? Tell Fadi to mute. Can you mute Fadi?
Sorry,
you know,
his
very
phone went to the car system, so I apologize. Yeah.
But no, I was gonna.
Really lovely. I think we should give him a shout out. So Fadi, he does ABCD Dance Festival, right? Fadi, you're more than welcome to give your if you're gonna shout, you might as well just be included, right?
Hey, oh,
We're trying to find our location.
okay. So I was gonna say that I think even if you add testing to a festival, it's going to be hard to manage because unless everyone's staying in an event in a hotel, and even the staff is not going home, because remember, the staff that's serving you or making your beds or checking you in is going home and then coming back to work. So I don't think that that would be as feasible unless it was a completely kind of secluded resort style setup, otherwise you can't. You would have to do it every single night. You'd have to do those types of tests every single night at the at entrance points, and also for the staff that's working, not just the dancers and the artists who are coming in.
But just going back to what Mo was saying about like common sense, though, I think that's one of the reasons why we're partially screwed in the UK, though, because the government is basically relying on the common sense of the UK people just to do what's right, and like even over the past weekend, unfortunately, some social dancers just don't have common sense. It's like we've still got social distancing rules going on in the UK, and you've got videos of people in parks congregating in groups of 30, 40, social dancing with each other, swapping partners, touching. Like they're not using their own common sense. So if we're relying on everyone's common sense to get through this together, we need a bit more common sense going on.
So where do you think that we failed? Like, I mean, when I look at the situation, I personally think like everybody's just chucked onto us and say, right, you guys get on with it now. It's a little bit less. There's hardly any more cases. Keep your distance. Here's a couple of shops that have opened. Here's a couple of bars that have opened. Get on with it. That sense of like they've just thrown the onus on every individual to make their own judgments about going out, social distancing.
But the one thing that they haven't said,
Otherwise,
the one thing that they haven't said is that we have to stop social distancing. They've all of the guidance still says quite clearly that we need social distancing, and we need that 1 meter rule. We need the face masks. We've got to be wary of how the droplets are transmitting between people. Even if you're exercising, then you have to be more aware of increased breathing capacity, increased projection of the droplets. So these things are quite clear in the guidance, but people are just ignoring it,
Yeah, but
and
there's a kind of
it's
wrong with
dangerous.
masks, isn't there? Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that masks are not really good for you. You're breathing in your own CO, your carbon dioxide, and so on. I know you noticed on our social media, there's a lot of people who are sort of against. You don't have to wear the mask. It's all a farce. You know what's really going on. Was it really a cope? Was it really something a serious pandemic? Was it just a flu? I know we've been
Um,
this. We really had to tackle this magnet. I don't know how it is in the USA, but here a lot of people think it was just a flu.
Oh, well, I think you can tell just by the president and everything that he says that he believed that for some time. I'm pretty certain he still does. And he's got all of his followers and stuff believing that. And then there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories over in the US as well in terms of, what is it really and who's released it, and I think the Black Lives Matter protests actually didn't help. Like they were necessary for protesting the injustice, but they didn't help because all of a sudden people are like, wait, I thought that this was this thing we're not supposed to be gathering in groups. All of a sudden we're all right next to each other, and they're like, well, why isn't that many people sick? So there's then it adds to the conspiracy. It fuels that conspiracy of like, oh, then this is a farce, that because look how many protests have happened and why haven't the numbers spiked to the same proportion as the numbers of people that are actually on the streets. So I think that the timing of that might have been something that didn't assist the whole social distancing, the lockdown, the common sense approach to it.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, when people say that to me, it's just like the flu. Um, I mean, how many people do you personally know who have died of the flu? I can't name anyone. Right?
I,
There are people who have died of the flu, but how many do you personally know? I don't know anyone. Right? But people who have died of COVID, I can name 10 people, and one of
hey,
them's my mother. Yeah. So if anyone's saying to me it's just like the common flu, then it's not. Yes, it might have a lower mortality rate, but the infection rate and the things surrounding how that disease is propagated and how it affects the community are very different to a seasonal flu.
But what you're saying here, Pierre, is also a very important point. Is I think it really makes a difference in how you're personally affected by it, whether you're directly affected by it by getting sick, or whether you know someone close to you that's affected by it getting sick or losing their life. When it becomes really personal and touches your life personally, all of a sudden you have a very different approach to it, and that's just in general from almost everybody. It's like people who take risks with riding bikes at high speeds, right? Until somebody dies or loses a limb or something, all of a sudden that they start to calm down, right? So that's another approach to it. So depending on where you are and depending on how your area has dealt with it. Like for me, for example, in New Jersey, where I live, if I look out the window throughout the entire pandemic, nothing looked different. My area is not that populated. There's not a bunch of people walking around all the time. The only time it was actually different is when I went to the supermarket, because then you had to line up
Yeah.
6 feet of distance, and then they only let so many people in, and everyone was wearing a mask, and now they have all plastic things in stores. That's where it starts to look different. But otherwise, I'm not personally seeing anything. I have one friend who got sick. I have a few friends who got sick and they recovered, right? But I haven't personally experienced a death that's close to me, right? Not to say that I'm negating or dismissing the severity of this disease, right? But that's what I've been exposed to, and there are plenty of other people who are exposed to less than that, and that's why they're like, well, it's just like the flu, because they don't know, right?
That's part of what hurts though, because like in our community in London, we've had a few deaths in the Bajada community. Like my mother, do you know Julian Mr. M?
Yeah.
Yeah, his father died. Like there are several like well-known teachers who have been affected by this personally, and when you see the pictures of who's out dancing, these are people that we know, and for them to be sort of ignoring you sort of do take it personally after a while.
You do, but then there's also this other element of people are going to live their lives the way they want to live their lives, right? There are people who, for example, you know, I smoke hookah, right? I enjoy hookah, but there are lots of people who are like, that's really bad for you. That's going to kill you, right? Yeah, maybe, possibly, right? But I still do it. I know it's not good. You
But
know,
that's something that affects you,
it
right?
affects the small vicinity that I'm in too,
Yeah,
though, with
but
whoever's around. But my point is just that it's an approach I'm taking based on, you know, my own life. Yes, you're right. It's not directly possible to, you know, smoke hookah and then go out and hang out with somebody else and then they die, right? Of
yeah,
course, that's not the correlation. But I'm saying that the people who are doing those things are probably just focused on themselves. They're not
yeah,
really thinking outside, right? In my case, I'm not trying to do anything to hurt other people, but I am those kind of like bad things that I do in my life are my own decisions, right?
yeah,
Even though I know that they're bad. Whereas other people that are going out and dancing are just not thinking further ahead. They're just thinking of themselves. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So I'm just going to go and have fun, you know?
yeah.
And that's,
Oh, I totally get it. Yeah.
The thing
Mo, you want to say
is, a little bit. Can you hear me
Mo
okay?
was
Okay, so
it's a
not
little
really.
bit
Can't hear you.
you can't hear me?
I mean, very, very faint.
Okay.
faint.
How about now?
Yeah.
That's better.
Perfect.
Is
yes.
that better? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So my just to kind of go on with Pierre a little bit there for a second. The thing is, my opinion personally is not against those people so much. For me, I I feel like rushing ahead and dancing ahead of time in an unsafe environment or an area that's classed in an unsafe environment is irresponsible because obviously you are putting other people at risk, and I think it's not a correct thing to do. But I can't lecture those people. Everyone's responsible for their own common sense, and you do what you think is right for you. That's fair enough. My main problem is with teachers, organizers, or influencers who are gathering people. For me, that's the problem, because you are almost kind of taking responsibility. You're saying, come on, people, let's go. If I'm gonna go dancing, and I say, okay, I'm gonna make an irresponsible choice for myself. Um, then that's my choice, and I might be putting other people at risk, but that's my risk that I'm trying to do. Whereas if I'm an organizer and I'm saying, okay, people, let's all go out, that's me influencing other people to make their own decision for them to take a risk on other people's lives. And I think that's where the problem is a lot of the time.
Not
So
not even just organising though. There's people attending. So when you see high-profile teachers and dancers attending those events, that it's kind of like they're endorsing it. So they're having an effect as well.
And so I want to just make a comment on that too. I don't think we're coming back to dancing anytime soon. Like I'm almost writing off social salsa dancing for the rest of the year.
Like in the USA, Magna, just like in
Yeah,
the
I don't believe it's coming back anytime soon. Personally, we don't even do any outdoor events that I know of. I know some schools have opened up, and all they're doing is you know, footwork classes, but no partner work. Everyone's
Mhm.
wearing a mask. But there is a sense of how people are approaching this whole pandemic and how it has affected their livelihood that sometimes leads them to do things that might be almost out of desperation. You know, so Pierre, you mentioned that there are people who high profile individuals or artists who might go and attend an event, and yeah, it's been a long time, like without proper work, right? Like a lot of the things that you had planned for yourself. So maybe for those people, and again, it's not that they're thinking rationally or that they're actually even intentionally trying to hurt other people or influence them in a bad way. It's almost like all they're thinking of is possibly survival for themselves, you know, where they're like, I haven't worked in X amount of months. I've gotten this event. I've gotten this gig. I can make some money. I need to pay these bills or whatever that they need to do. And that's how they're thinking. That's how they're making their decisions. You know, it's not the best way to do it, but it's really important to kind of like understand where all these decisions are coming from so that we can then possibly influence the direction. Sorry,
Nice.
Paolo.
No,
I
sorry, what
just
was
wanted to add, yeah, I think, well, in the case here where I am in South Africa, it has been a bit different because the cases were from the middle of May, more or less. They started to decrease, and actually, we are not really close to even bending the curve, or we are just going high. And in this moment, this week, actually, some schools started to to offer classes in some studios. I understand that anyway, the South African body dance already opened some rules, and even some of the schools have to go through some kind of courses to ensure that they are applying the regulations in place. They want to give classes with the restrictions and everything, sanitation and number of participants and everything. For some people, it has been a relief, like Magna mentioned, that some of the many schools have and people that I actually know, people that have been really, really depressed because they literally live from the dance, and and it's difficult even for when you know them, even if close, you can understand the situation that they are going through. But also when you look at the context, for instance, that as we have been talking, is different from every country. Hungary is around 4,000 cases, and it's understandable that they are already doing workshops. Greece, for instance, there are schools that are already doing physical classes because they have also very low cases. Then, but when we look at the cases of UK or USA, then I think that what I used to believe personally is that common sense becomes very relative. What is common sense for you, it might not be common sense for me. So it's very, in this moment, like a very individual decision. It's up to me if I want to take care, if I want to be prudent, like Mo Flex mentions, to think about what happens if I go and my family and everything, all the implications. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point then, Paola. I totally agree with you. I think common sense does actually lose a lot most of the time, and common sense is never really applied. And I'll tell you what's really interesting in my part here. When I've recently started to go back to work, and it's so interesting how people operate. You're at the bus stop and everyone's social distancing, and then the bus arrives and the door opens and everybody has crammed like they normally do in UK towards the bus. And the buses here in the UK, they've got like a minimum, the max is 20 people on a bus. The max is 20 people on the bus. And so inside, obviously, you're having a slight distance. Pierre, I think the social distancing has gone from 2 meters to about 1 meter, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
well, 1 meter plus a
So
mask.
when I use the buses, like you're sitting in one seat, there's someone sitting behind you. But like Paula was saying, common sense loses you, but you have everybody lining up behind you trying to get on, scrambling onto the buses again. So it's a bit, I think it's a little bit delusional. This whole 1 meter distance is a little bit delusional about what's going on. I've been working now for about 3 weeks. Touch wood, I've been in contact with a lot of people, um, and I I haven't had the symptoms. No, I know there's a 7 day incubation period or whatever, and you get the symptoms. I've not had it. So in my mind, and I don't know if this is how a lot of people are thinking, but in my mind, I'm thinking I'm pretty okay now. I think I can get a little bit more close the next time I'm out there, and I won't be shouting at the person next to me saying, "Dude, can you step back 1 meter?" It's not going to happen like that anymore.
But the thing is that the people aren't actually understanding the guidance either, because it's not actually 1 meter.
But
It's
then
it's it's
the guidance then. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's the guidance is actually 2 meters or 1 meter plus either a mask or non-face-to-face contact or some other mitigating factor between
yeah.
you and the other person. So
Mm.
it's not just 1 meter, you can talk face to face with no mask. That's not the guidance. The guidance is 2 meters or 1 meter plus
Absolutely.
mitigation.
Yeah, I
Um,
So
understand. want to go to sorry, Magda. Just before we go to you, I think we just want to. We've got audience here. We've got some like people asking and giving some comments here. So just want to go
Okay.
to that. We've got Maria. Hi, Maria. She's saying exactly, as an organizer, you have a greater degree of responsibility to your students and others in the community. What do you think about that, Magna? What's your thoughts on that? And then we want to go to Fadi, because Fadi's an organizer. I'd like to get his view while he's there. You know, I'm really interested to have his take on it too. Magna, what's
Yeah.
your take on it?
I mean, what Pierre said earlier is just hits a nail on the head. You know, organizers, they are the ones who are taking on that responsibility of, you know, not only throwing an event and taking care of the logistics of that stuff, but also the possible spread of COVID if they are unable to track it and trace it. I think there aren't enough things in place for us to like truly be able to test everybody so that we can enjoy a dance, you know, so that we can enjoy an actual social the way we used to remember it. So I'm not entirely sure where and when that's going to change. But the comment that I wanted to make was based on before, like how both you and Pierre are talking about. Well, the actual measures are you should be 2 meters or 1.5 meters plus this. Like the fact that you're in the same country and you don't know exactly what the measures are in place, right? That's what makes it really difficult. Like over here in the US, there's no real understanding of what the hell is going on, right? Like in one state, they have, you know, you have the freaking senators going in planes, sitting there without a mask, right, where everybody else is, and people will take pictures of them and look at this person who's completely disregarding what the CDC director was saying that everyone should be doing, right?
Yeah.
And so because there's no not you can't even exercise common sense when you're getting tons and tons of different information, and your common sense is dependent on what you're exposed to, you know. Like if all you see are a bunch of people without masks, you'll be like, well, what's the common sense here? I'm not watching CNN and these other, I'm only watching Fox News for this particular information. Common sense is going to be based on what makes sense and what's common to you, right? And it's not the same across the country, and that's the problem. And I think that's also a problem even in a smaller country like the UK, because you've got two people here who aren't entirely certain of what measures are in place and what is the directive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Thanks for that, Magna. Fadi, since you're there.
One thing that we can say confidently about the UK government is that they're very, very consistent in changing in their mind. So
Yeah, we can all agree on that one, definitely.
Oh, that was very good. I was like, consistent,
Yeah.
really? And then smooth.
So Fadi's an organizer for ABCD.
Hello.
Hi, Fadi. Hi, Fadi. I hope you don't mind. I mean, you're there. We thought we might just jump on and yeah, ABCD. There we go, folks. I've got my less is more. There you go. I'm at the only
Oh,
one.
the t-shirt.
Less
Yeah.
is definitely more. That's why my event is only 4 letters.
Fadi, listen. I mean, your ABCD event. When would it have been this year?
It's past. We've done it just before COVID.
Yeah, I mean,
We welcome.
mine was during COVID.
Yeah, we've done. You were there.
Not this year. I didn't. I only managed. No, I wasn't there. I didn't make it. See?
Wait a minute. I thought everyone was there.
You said you were there. It must have been a lookalike. I did say I was going to come.
So it was the last weekend of January.
Yeah.
And luckily, we got it out of the way before we had to go through all this. And it's not on until next year, February, first weekend. So fingers crossed, we will get away with it.
Super. I know that they're in. So we've got someone here in Canada. She's saying that in Canada they're on the beaches and they're dancing. They're not. There's no social distancing, and they're not even wearing masks. I think Maria, are you anxious about this? We'd like to hear more from you about what it is that you're trying to say here. Are you against this, or are you saying it's all good, it's fine? It would be nice to hear a bit more from you.
The thing
Um,
is, it's everywhere. It's the same
It's
here.
not. It's not
It's the
just in
same. It's
Canada.
the same here in the UK.
It's the same here. Yeah.
Here we've had what was it? Which beach was it that was super busy? And it was
Bournemouth.
all
Bournemouth.
over pictures. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. 500,000 people.
There were, but since that's happened, has the figures risen with COVID?
No.
See, this is where I get all a bit. This is where I get confused. It's like,
Well,
should we be going out and we'll be all right?
I
And then
think.
I have to
I
do
think what it is, there would be cases from that occasion. They just don't show up. They just don't show yet.
And even if they don't
but
show yet, I mean, just because we don't. Why must we wait until
Hold
the
on a minute.
danger until people start passing away? If the danger is possible, why don't we just look? There are countries where friends of mine are. I mean, I was just talking to someone from Cyprus the other day, and immediately after it wasn't even a pandemic; it was an epidemic. And as soon as they heard about it, the
They
Cypriot
lock
government
down.
just locked down.
Boom.
They literally. I know it's a small island in comparison, but they literally just locked the airports, locked everyone in, and the fines if you were caught on the road outside your house you have to have a permission from the government by text message to leave the
To
house
go to the supermarket.
to go to the supermarket. And if you didn't have, and you're allowed one trip a day for a limited number of time. If you didn't have that
Not
permission,
everyone.
if you have, yeah,
Only if you have a text message. So they would send you a text message allowing you to go out for a certain time, and then you have to be at home. Like if they say 2 hours to your supermarket, depending on your location, then you'll be home by that time.
and if you get caught outside, it's like up to 3,000 euros fine. And now, as a result, this is a clean country. And now they started to question whether or not to open the airports and because they're clean. And the thing is, if more countries like this did, and the US and the UK is two of the leading countries in the world, and for them to behave in such a, I don't want to kind of get
But
into
you
politics,
could,
but
hey, you can only be a
yeah.
leading country with a leader, right? As far as I'm concerned, and right now
Yeah,
we don't
not by
have one.
name. The thing
We don't
is,
have.
regardless of what happened now, this is where we are. So we have to deal with today. If we're gonna keep thinking this is what they did yesterday, we're never gonna move
So
forward.
let's keep here.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm here
it's
to
just,
stand up.
it's just when you're asking about have we had a spike, you can't rely on the figures because we're not testing people. So how do you know if there's been a spike if you're not
Yeah.
testing people, right?
right.
The only numbers that they're actually reporting are deaths, and even those figures they can't actually be trusted at the moment because it depends what deaths you're counting. So asking if there's a spike in relation to those events is meaningless at the moment because we haven't got the
But
statistics
also,
to
we will never,
prove it
we
or
won't
not.
know when it's gonna get better
No.
if we're not testing.
It just seems like it's really uncertain times. But what I think we need to be focusing on, because we know these are really uncertain times. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. We don't even know if there's going to be a second wave. That's all predictions and that are out there. But what I'm interested in is, as as most of us are dancers here, we're all organizers. We all hold events. We all hold workshops. What are you doing? Because I know that most of us have lost money. We don't have that kind of income anymore that we used to have on a regular basis. And what I've noticed a lot of is a lot of online classes. I wanted to know what you think of online classes and whether you would take the direction this year to just take your work and go online and get people to pay. Who's
Oh,
doing online classes right now? How have they been going?
it's okay. It's not to the same level of kind of the work that I was doing before, but it's there's still something there. I think the biggest problem initially was mainly just everyone went online and everything was dirt cheap, um, or donations, which I tried, or like, here's a full week of classes for $5 or something like
Yeah.
that, and then
Mhm.
Yeah, Mo mentioned that he goes, everyone was doing everyone. Everyone who wasn't
Everyone,
anyone.
right?
We should have done Agnes classes. $5 for
No, no,
5 hours.
mine was donation, dude. Mine was free. You
We
could
should
have come
have
for
done your
free.
classes.
Could have come
thing
for
is, when
I
it
think
comes
free.
down
no, you're right.
when
She was actually. I remember when we first were on lockdown, and Magna was starting to do these kind of weekly classes, like kind of she's pumping iron.
Well,
I it
so I
wasn't.
did. See, so for me, what I did is I actually had started, I didn't start with salsa because, again, I feel like I put half of my life into investing into that career and building up my knowledge and information there. And I didn't really feel like going, okay, well, here's everything for free to everybody. Like I don't think that's good business. And I don't think that respects my value either of what I have to offer. So I
It
did
was
like a weekly class and I did a donation based class just to see how that works. First time worked
yeah,
pretty well. Then the next time you still had so many people, but less people would actually donate. Then I was like, let me try a suggested donation. Maybe people need some kind of guidance in what they should be offering, at least as a minimum. That kind of
mm,
work, but it was still a very minimal amount of people. Then I was like, all right, you know what? If this is like out of a certain number, if there's only this many people that are actually going to donate, then that's the people that are going to take the class. So then I made it paid, set a price, and those people were the ones who came. So the people who wanted it for free or could not were not able to join again. And then alongside that, another thing just popped up for me, which I wasn't expecting, but this is an awesome effect of this COVID situation is I started doing fitness online. Fitness
yeah,
has always been very, yeah,
yeah,
fitness
yeah.
is very important to me. And I didn't want to get out of shape during this whole COVID thing. So I was like, okay, I need to work out every day. So I'll do it online live. That will be my accountability. I'm going to do it at 10 a.m. I did it for 60 days straight uh, on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram Live. And then after that, I just reached out to a couple of the people who were regulars and I was like, listen, I've done 60 days and I would like to continue this, but it's going to have to be on a paid basis. Let's talk about it. What do you think this is worth? This is what I would feel like my time is worth and I can offer this. How do you feel? And it was like a beautiful conversation. And I'm just started today, my third edition of that. So I do a monthly package with a small group of people and I do fitness like the same live sessions and it's great. I've been in shape like I would have, for the amount of freaking ice cream and cookies and all the garbage that I eat, I would be really out of shape, but it's because of QFit, that I've been able to stay in shape and I've been able to create another community of very intelligent, like accomplished individuals who are hilarious to connect with. That's how I start my day now with them at least 3 days a week. So I've got those things going and I've also just kind of looked at this situation and again maybe it's more preparation on my part to have not been living paycheck to paycheck type of thing and having some savings, but I don't feel desperate to do something that might jeopardize other people's health or my own in any serious way, and it allows me to kind of approach everything in a calmer fashion and take time. Like there are other projects that I've wanted to work on. I never sat at home for so long to have the time to do that, So I'm
Mhm.
acknowledging that this is also an opportunity to grow and to
Mm,
build, even if that doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean it's generating income right now today.
Yeah, I really like that. It is an opportunity. I think a lot of things have opened up since COVID that a lot of people have taken on some other options, other ways of like survival, if you want to put it that way. But I want to come back to you, Magna, because I want to know the platforms that you're using. How has it been for marketing, getting people out there? Because now they're sitting in their homes or they're just trying to go from day to day. We'll come back to that. But I want to know, Pierre, like, how have you been managing with the COVID? What have you been doing? How have you been keeping yourself visible as a dancer and an artist online, or if it's online?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm quite lucky that for me, dancing isn't my primary source of income. I'm actually a software engineer by day, and dancing has always been my passion, my hobby. So I haven't had to do many classes to keep my toe in the water. I have done a couple of. I did a musicality series which I put up online, and that got quite good reception. and I've left the videos up online and left them there on a donation basis, and I'm still getting sort of trickle of income coming from those classes, people watching the videos and donating via PayPal. My wife, she's actually a full-time dance teacher, so she's been running her kids' classes online using Zoom, and that's going quite well. She does classes every day. She's got a nice little following behind her. But my kids do classes with Mo as well, because Mo's doing classes, so that they do his reggaeton classes. They jump in
They're
with him.
amazing. I love them.
Yeah. So I think we're all trying to support each other and help each other out and stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. Mary, so you're doing reggaeton classes? Just reggaeton? Anything else?
Um, I'm doing a bunch of different courses. So the reggaeton course where the Henry family was part of it just came to an end. But I did a bunch of different other stuff. I mean, like Magna, I was working on my shaping and stuff, but just in a whole different shape. Mine is slightly rounder shape, but still shaping it, COVID shaping. So I'm still working on that. But with regards to classes and stuff, I've got to say, I've had this debate with a lot of different teachers offline. I've got a very strong opinion about free classes. Donation-based classes I thought was a good idea. So a lot of people kind of were not sure about charging and stuff, and having it open for donation-based, I thought that's fine. It's open. It's just my disappointment was the sheer number of teachers from around the world who just kept consistent open free classes. I think it's not good for the scene, to be honest with you. I think it's going to destroy the scene completely. And the second, it's also not good for the dancer and the dance community, and it's not good for the consumer, because when someone's committed to something, they can do it, more consistently, more directly, and so on. And also, it's the quality. So, say for example, if someone's, they have paid classes and paid courses and things like that, then they are kind of obliged to up the quality of what they're doing. They start using better cameras, better lighting, better microphone, better so on. So actually, overall, the quality of what's provided online gets better. Where if it's everyone's doing a free class, then I think that's just going to eventually kind of just fizzle the scene out. So I don't think it's actually good for us. I've never supported that from my side personally. Eventually, when I started doing my classes, I've done my flexology, because I do. I'm a life coach as well, so I did my flexology coaching sessions, and that was donation based, because normally the life coaching sessions are a bit more expensive. So I kind of just left that. It was more to kind of just to reach people out. Then I started doing my dance classes and my courses, which I had a lovely group of people, which I really enjoyed doing. I kind of gave feedback videos and things like that, which was really a nice, enjoyable experience. I'm going to take like a week break now. I'm going to come back. That's why I'm kind of here with Fadi. And then I'm going to come back and do more classes and more courses back online again. So that's going to go on. But I've also been busy with the online shows. So I've had my Corona de Salsa show, which has been running since the beginning of lockdown. That's been a lot of fun. Magna's been on a couple of times, and we're waiting for it to come back. Pierre's even DJ'd on there, came on as a guest and everything. So it's been a lot of fun to try to lift the people up. That was the whole point of the show, to kind of, while people have been locked away, to give them the energy and kind of give them the boost. And I've had a chance to enjoy conversations online with people, lovely people like yourself. So it's been a busy experience. And to be honest with you, I'm actually frustrated a little bit, because when the lockdown happened, I thought, okay, I'm going to get some rest. I'm going to get some sleep. But it didn't.
I have found some real good positives. I've been able to slow down a little bit and reconnect with people, have meaningful conversations with people, and really take time out about where I've been going. Otherwise, it's always been a bit fast-paced for me. So for me, it's been a real positive with lockdown. Paula, how's it been for you?
Well, for me, when I got cut, when we came into the lockdown, it was. I think the first month was an adjusting stage, but not only for me, for everybody. But one of the first things I noticed, and it was curious to me, was that somehow I started to talk with people and see and measure how everybody was feeling. It was very surprising for me that some people, some teachers or schools, when it came all this about, okay, to do everything online. Some of them really were finding very difficult to do something online, and I tried to look for, okay, let's do these collaborations, and let's try to somehow help each other. But some of them became a bit reluctant to teach online, and and also the fact of, like, one of the comments actually I'm seeing also, some people doesn't really feel comfortable sitting alone at home, and also that was interesting for me. But in my background, I am Latin American, and I grew up dancing alone in couples with my uncle, with everyone. Is part of my culture, but I understand also that other people is just not used to that. So that was a bit one of the first things. Um, I think at the beginning everybody was adjusting. I think you might have seen all these dance challenges were viral on the networks. Um, but at some point everybody tried to still continue the activities online. Some people might have not had the resource, though some people had not could be a really good teacher, but they unfortunately didn't have a good enough strong network to teach. In South Africa, we are somehow a bit privileged because South Africa is a bit particular in the whole continent, but other countries, they were probably struggling more. And even if you are talking about more remote areas, I have friends in Botswana that they were really going through a lot and not really able to teach anymore. So the experience was different for everybody. Um, Now that the sectors are opening a little bit more, and like I mentioned before, some of the dance schools are opening again, but under really still regulations and restrictions. But still, most of the people is not able to restart. And also, given the fact that the cases are definitely increasing, and then it doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. And you know what's really interesting about all of this is, you have some of these online classes. I don't have a clue where to begin with online classes. I wouldn't know which way to face, which way to go forward. I'm so used to being in a classroom and having people follow me and having a mirror in front of me. So even with these lives, it took me a while to get my head around it, to be honest. I want, Pal, I think we should just go to some comments. There's been quite a few comments here by people,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back. I want to come back to some good practices because I think we, we hear a lot about COVID and we've been talking about it since it started. So I really would want to come
I've
back
got
to
a
some
question
really
for
good
Paula.
practices.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
I've got a question for Paula. Whereabouts in South Africa are you? Because you've got a really
No,
strong African accent.
really, no. I am based in Johannesburg, but I am Colombian. I speak Spanish. I don't.
How's she got an African accent when she's from Colombia? In Africa.
But I live in Johannesburg, and yeah,
She's,
That's
she's teasing me.
is that Spanish region of Africa? That's what I thought maybe.
I don't know. I live in Mozambique also, so I don't know. I actually find myself like a very, very Spanish strong accent in my
Sorry to
English.
interrupt.
Hello, can we get up Debbie Wiggs? Hi, Debbie. It's nice to see you here. Debbie Wiggs has said the people that are choosing to dance with each other are making an individual choice to do so. They
Sure.
may or they may not be asemantic, and if this is their choice, they need to be open about their activities. Oh, she's asking for some visibility. People own up. Okay, so she says, so others, either dancers who are not dancing due to the current situation or non-dancers are aware that this is what those dancing are doing. I've kind of lost the plot on this whole thing. It's such a long sentence. Debbie, can you put these in chunks next time? But she wraps it up. She says, she is saying people in doing so, personal choices can be made if they want contact with individuals choosing to dance against the current guidance. And I think that's a general consensus at the moment that everybody's going against the grain, the guidance, this biblical guidance that's out there that no one's following. at the moment in the UK, unfortunately, or in probably other places out there.
I think what she's saying is right though, because like, especially if you're like running events or going to events later on, if you've been out there sort of flaunting the rules and getting in contact and potentially incubating that virus and passing it around, then people should be aware of those choices because it might have an impact on them. So,
So this is an interesting comment. This is by I don't know if you can see this, Paolo. If you want to call up this lady, her name is Laura. Laura Wirat. Okay. Hi, Laura. Happy to join us. She said, "It's all a hoax. The biggest virus is the world government." What's your thoughts on this one? So
it's
we would
definitely not a hoax.
let's go with you, Pierre. Let's go with you first. So is this a hoax? Is the whole COVID thing a hoax?
It's quite obviously not a hoax. I mean, there's no doubt that the government in various countries are not handling it well. But yeah, it's definitely not a hoax.
I think to a degree, also, just like conspiracy theories and stuff, it's important to not give it more credibility by constantly talking about it and trying to defend against it. Like, you want to believe it's a hoax, that's fine. If you want to troll the comments, that's also fine. Moving on, next. Sorry, like that's not what
I
this.
think it
That's
might
not
be
what this.
sarcasm. I don't think she meant it was a hoax.
Okay, because I was like, that's not what the live
I
is
think
about. You know what I
she
mean?
was joking.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know
I
who the
think it was
person is.
sarcasm. I think it was.
You sure? Do you know this person? Is that why you're saying that?
No, but I think I'm just saying.
Um,
No, I'm just guessing. Just by the looks of it.
So, Mo, I think this is someone who's your fan actually. Hibby, am I saying that
Even
right?
Ever.
Yeah. She follows you, yeah. She follows your lives
maybe.
everywhere. So she's very. I think initially some of us, myself included, might have been reluctant to commit to paying for regular classes as we were unsure of our own incomes. Yeah, that was the case, true. I personally did not want to start a couple of lessons with a teacher and then stop. I felt I would let them down. On the other hand, salsa teachers teaching online allow us to attend classes that we might not usually be able to attend due to our own location. So there is a benefit to having online classes. Even if we don't have that physical touch of dancing together as couples, she's saying that the having been able to have access to online classes is a bonus, yeah? Thanks for that, Ibby. What do you reckon, Mo?
I mean, this one definitely after, even if it opens up, I'm going to carry on with the online classes. I find that really, really useful.
Same.
I've got a nice group from the Middle East. I've got a crowd from Asia. I've got people from like different parts of the world, which I see them either when I'm on tour, when I'm at the festival, when I'm teaching at an event in that area from one part of the year to the other. So doing the online classes allowed me kind of to reach out for them on a more, kind of instant basis. Obviously, I had to adjust and do different classes for the Asia crowd, different classes for the Middle East crowd, and different classes for the European crowd because of the time zone differences. So that was a bit more hard work, and I'm still kind of coming to terms with that. But besides that, it gave me the chance to kind of keep that regulation kind of working, which has been a bonus. And on that basis, I know Huber, for example, she's based in Scotland, and they don't have that many. They've got a couple of good teachers, but they don't have that many teachers. So kind of getting a lot of the international teachers out to your doorstep on your screen at home makes it kind of work pretty well. And I think that's a bonus for a lot of people.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of opportunities coming out through all of this that you have to first accept that nothing's going to change back to what it was anytime soon. And once you can accept that, then you start to adapt to the new reality and figure out how to maximize your experience, your enjoyment, your growth with the current situation. I think the people who sometimes struggle with that are the ones who are like, I don't like this. I want to go back. And I'm like, that's great. Me too. But that's not an option, So let's talk about what is actually an option out there. these are your options. You're not going to get a salsa congress anytime. Well, unless you go to Hungary, but you're not going to get a salsa congress anytime soon. So how else can you continue learning? You're not going to get to social dance with a partner, but does that mean that you can't continue to advance yourself personally? Of course you can. So you just have to redirect your attention and your energy that in a way that accepts the reality for what it is. And that's what I think, that's what we're all doing in our own ways, even with this less is more Facebook Live, right? Like, you weren't doing this before Corona. The Mo's show wasn't there before. I wasn't doing fitness before. Like, there's so many things that and like what the comment was, there's so many things you now have access to that you would have probably not ever gotten access to this level.
Yeah,
So take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we've got StreamYard, we've got Zoom. Zoom is something I use at work, and then all of a
Oh
sudden I'm
man,
doing, yeah,
their
it's like,
stock was like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Pierre, you had your hand up. Sorry, please continue.
No, because I was going to say, because I do get worried for some of my colleagues, because like they're so eager to get back to teaching regular classes. So like when we went into lockdown, they're saying, "Oh, it's okay. We'll be back in June," and then it went to July, and then it went to August, and then it's going to go to September. Then it might go to January, and they're constantly sort of eating through their savings, and they're not planning for any alternate streams of income.
Yeah,
So I think teachers do need to be sort of realistic about what might
yeah,
happen
the
and
thing.
protect themselves.
I just want to make one comment before I have to go. Oh.
Mo, Mo and Magna both have to go, but I think Mo said he forgot to say goodbye. So Mo, it's lovely to have you with us. If you want to say your goodbye,
Thank you
we'll
very
have.
much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Bye, Mo. Bye, Fadi.
Thank you guys. Much
Later,
love.
Thank
guys.
you also.
Dios.
See you
Great
later.
talk. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was saying that when it comes to like going back to stuff, I think it's this idea that they were just kept on waiting, for things to change instead of just trying to hustle and trying to create. And the thing is, if we're not going to dance for the next, let's say, 6 months, you're not going to lose your passion for it. Like, if you have to take a different job, if you got to be a call operator or something, do that. Like, make ends meet so that when this dance and everything comes back, that you can still go and attack it. You can still go and enjoy it. You can still go back to teaching and doing all of those things. I just feel like too many people have attached their identity to one thing, and they feel like doing anything else is a loss of identity, and it's not. You're not dance, you're not a dancer, you're not this, you're not that. You are
Yeah.
whatever the hell you want to be in that moment.
Yeah.
So it's more of a limitation that people put on themselves. Then they feel stuck because they're like, well, I've been dancing, like I have, right, 20 years. I've been teaching for at least 15 of those years, and this is what I've done. But came to this and I was like, all right, well, let me see what else I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that note, thank you so much for organizing this. This is awesome. I'm gonna definitely try, hopefully, for your next part 2 thing.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
That one. We have an Annie on there.
I know. Yes, I definitely want to be there for that one. That's my girl.
I wish we could have more. I always look at the time and think, gosh, we've only just touched surfaces, and there'll be some really useful stuff here. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we'll
Thank you, guys. Bye, Pierre. Bye,
Good to
Thank
see
you
Nina.
you.
very much
Take
for
care.
having me.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. So Pierre, let's talk about some good practices. So before we wrap up, it's really interesting to know, what should we be doing as artists? What should we be doing as dancers? What's your take on that one?
Um, I think, well, as sort of promoters and teachers,
Yeah,
I think we just need to be responsible about what we're offering and what we're guiding the community to do, and we need to sort of set their expectations. If, like, rather than saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to be back next week, we're going to be back the week after," just get people to take a breath and say, "Look, we will come back. We will do that when it's safe to do so," rather than just constantly hyping people up to dance. And as dancers, we need to be more responsible as well. If the guidance in your country says that you should be social distancing, then that doesn't mean that you can go to the park at the weekend and meet up with your friends and dance with them. At the moment, the social distancing thing is it's the most important thing at the moment, because that's what's going to stop the spread of the virus. And until we can get that infection rate down, we're not going to reopen and go back to normal. So it's delaying things for everyone. And yes, it's frustrating, but we just have to get through it. And the more we adhere to the guidance, the sooner we'll get back to normal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you on that one. Tyler, what do you think that it's important to follow these rules, minimize the risk, and then we can get back to some normality? Paula?
Oh, you were asking me. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, I agree with what Pierre said, and but I uh, what I used to think now in these days is I see what is around me, what happens also back in my country, and as I said before, it's individual in this moment. It depends of you. It depends if I want to follow the measures and look around what is the context I am, what is the situation, are there cases decreasing or not, are there restrictions, and so how I'm also individually feeling, maybe emotionally, and then try to look for a way that I don't come in a bad status of mind, for instance. Um, but yeah, I think it's very personal in this moment, decision of what you want to do. Many people would probably will not agree with waiting. Like I have even seen like some people is desperate to waiting to go back to teaching dance as soon as they can, no matter what. Some people is doing it following the precautions and the regulations that have been in place. Some people is waiting patiently, or like
What are we
Magna
doing
was
there?
doing.
Yeah, but what
Sorry?
are we doing? I think, I mean, we know where people are at. We know that there's different places that people are feeling, and that they're not going. Some are depressed, some are not. Some are wanting to social dance. Some are saying, no, I don't want to social dance. Some are wearing masks. Some aren't wearing masks. We know all that. But as artists, as like people of the community, or at least bringing something to the community, what are we giving? What messages are we saying for our customers? You know, like for example, we've got Elaine, she's just said, is there an official guideline on social dancing yet? Did you any of us know that? Is there an official guidance on
Well, there
social
is, yeah.
dancing? There is.
Well, as long as you see the word social distancing in the guidelines, it means that you cannot social dance,
Right, so
because
we're not looking
social
for it.
dancing and social distancing are completely incompatible. So as long as those words are in the guidance, then you shouldn't be social dancing.
Absolutely.
In the guidelines that were given this here in South Africa are including social distance. It means the classes cannot be on partners; they have to be completely individual.
Yeah, yeah. No raging dancing all the time. Mo, sorry, Pierre. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Mo. Mo's gone.
That's fine. It's a compliment.
I want to. I wanted to. I mean, the whole purpose of doing this is to look at good practices, because I've noticed time and time again, we've got a lot of people saying, "I want a social dance. I want to be able to get back and dance." We all want to get back and dance, but we want to do that in a way that is long term and not being out there dancing immediately and only to come back locked down for another God knows how long. I don't want that. Personally, I don't want that. Yeah, I'm not sure if you want that, and
No.
Paolo as well. We want to be all dancing at some point, but we might have to think about what Magnus saying here is look at what we can do in our control, stuff that we can make use of at the moment. So why not do something different for now?
Yeah.
What things have you done that are different for you, Pierre? Because I know you said you got a couple of online, but you're on furlough or something from work, or you're with work now, you're working from home.
No, I'm working full time from home. I'm a software developer, so I can do that quite easily from home or in the office. But yeah, I've been teaching some online workshops to do with musicality. Um, I've been taking place in a couple of online festivals, again teaching musicality. Um, yeah, but there's things that you can do. I mean, obviously they're not as good as doing it in person, in real life. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
there are things that you can do, just to keep yourself interested, and like even just coming and watching shows like this, because I've been taking part in like Mo's show, now in your show. Biscuit, he has a show with a lot
yeah, yeah.
interviews
There
with
are few lines out there, definitely. There
yeah.
are few lines out there.
So these sorts of shows are great for sort of keeping people in the loop as to what's going on and letting them see their favourite teachers and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, just it can be hard for some teachers to set up online because, as you said, there is a whole worry about not just teaching, but you've got to get used to hardware. You've got to get used to web cameras and microphones and sound recording and
Yeah,
all of that and streaming. And even my wife, she's the one that's doing classes every day, and she still hasn't got her head completely round it. But luckily, with me being a sound engineer, I've been able to sort that
oh,
out
good.
for her.
Follow me.
Yeah. So yeah, it is difficult. I understand that. But yeah, like Magna said, we want to get through it, and the way to get through it is to get a handle on this virus.
Mm,
And while the more we go against the rules, the longer it's going to take for us to get through it.
yeah, 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 that's true. I mean, that's a really good that's a really good point, Pierre. I want to wrap it up here because I think this is we're going to have a part two. Yeah, you must come in as an audience. We've got a couple of other guests coming in to
Yeah,
give
yeah,
them an opportunity to speak as well. But you know, we want to explore more about like what's happening for us as artists, what's happening in terms of what others are doing. Is there any safety measures that others can share with us right now? So we'll be exploring that a lot more. So thank you so much for your time, Pierre. It's been really useful having you with us. Thank you.
thank you
Um,
for inviting me.
but before we go, we do have our regular one that we do for Lessons More Talk, which happens every other Friday, and it so happens to be on this Friday, and it'll be around self care. So it'll be me and my team, and we're all going to be talking about self care and what we should be doing right now. And I think it's a useful one to just come off this post COVID and other things that are happening around in the environment. So we're going to talk about self care. I'm really excited about that. Pierre, if you can jump on that one too, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
Some
that'd be
ideas of
awesome.
we're caring for ourselves and each other. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to everyone who joined. It was big love. Please keep sharing. We're trying to do the best we can. It's all very new for us. As a Lessons More team, you know me as a dancer. You know me that I host Lessons More events. But this whole getting my head around lives and talking to my screen is a bit weird. So please do support us. We just try our best. Give us your ideas of what we could be talking about, and we'll definitely tackle those in future talks. We're not looking to end them any other time. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Paola. Paola's brilliant. She's my tech, by the way, Pierre. She might call you for assistance.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Anytime. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
So is
Thank
there
you, Pierre.
Yeah,
Yep.
Helen, say goodbye.
Yep.
I think we're losing. Okay. Ciao.
Thank you
See
for
you later.
everything.
Take
See
care.
you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.